I want to dive into mental health, which is a huge subject, but I know that you've spoken quite openly about it on
Yeah.
social media. And one of the things that you've shared is your dad's experience with depression and his own mental health. How has that shaped your understanding of mental health, I suppose?
Yeah, I think before Dad became unwell, it wasn't a term that I said or was massively aware of. I wasn't aware of what it meant physically, like how did it feel, the terms depression or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety or the kind of common, um, you know, symptoms that we associate with mental health. It didn't really cross my mind. And then all of a sudden, my dad became severely depressed and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I thought it was just something that, oh, I'll just get better, or like, well, Dad's invincible, like he'll be fine. And ever since that's happened, it's completely changed my view and my world around mental health,
Yeah.
because someone who I viewed as invincible was no longer invincible and nearly wasn't with us. So ever since then, it kind of evoked a fear inside me as well as, well, the same thing happened to me. So I'm way more aware of it, way more aware of how I'm feeling, the day-to-day things that I do, to try and prevent the same thing happen to me,
Yeah.
but also prevent the same thing from happening to others, which is my big mission right now. So it's completely changed my view on it.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I think we aren't given the education about mental health until something like that happens, right? And it maybe shifts your way of thinking or your understanding of your own mental health, especially if it's not something that you've personally dealt with. And I imagine your dad is, you know, in his 50s.
Yeah, he's going to turn 60 in November.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you've almost lived 50 years of your life, and then something like this can happen. And I think it's important that we realize it can happen to you at any point and at different stages of your life. And I guess it's funny as well when you look at your parents, because they are, this strong, stable, um, reliable figure in your life. And for them to go through something like that, I imagine it is really difficult. And I appreciate you kind of sharing that so openly as well. But I think the topic of men's mental health is kind of sad when you look at the
Mm.
statistics, but I think it's also really important that we talk about it. And I read that 1 in 8 men in England will experience mental health issues like anxiety and depression. Suicide is unfortunately the most common cause of death for men under 50, but also 40% of men never speak to anyone else about their mental health. And it's like those statistics just don't seem to marry up. What have you learned from your dad sharing his experience, and why do you think maybe men don't talk about it as openly as they could?
Yeah, I think first part of that is what have I learned from Dad's experience. I think I've learned so much about what caused him to get to that point.
Yeah.
So many factors, which is what I talk about on my content or on stage, things that you wouldn't think about. So your common things like lack of exercise or stress or what you're eating, all these kind of things. But other things that never really crossed my mind, like purpose, which is what we've been talking about. So a lack of purpose was a big thing for Dad,
Mm.
and a lack of connection. And so that connection point is really important and relevant to the second part of that, of your question. Men have typically struggled to open up about how they're feeling. They feel, or I think I felt at times, constrained by what masculinity means. I need to be strong, I need to be a
Mm.
provider. I think for Dad's case, he has obviously my mum and my sister and I. He was the main earner. He had the mortgage, all of those kind of things. So he just needs to go to work and earn the money to provide, and that was his role. So talking about how he was feeling or opening up to others was not really on the table. I
Yeah.
think my dad's more open than most, and now he's like really great at it and is encouraging lots of his friends to open up as well. And they've been doing that, which is brilliant. But I think that was, it's 5 years ago now. So the conversation around men's mental health was happening, but it was still in its earlier stages, where it's a lot more kind of front and center.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear because I'm so aware that men struggle to open up and talk about their mental health. But I also can't relate in a way. I feel like I'm very, very open with my female friends and with people in my life. And I feel like talking about my emotions and feelings comes so easily to me in a way. Like, I felt really down and upset about something the other night, and I just called my friend and started off in tears down the phone. By the end of the conversation, we were laughing and she gave me her advice and we just talked. And I think that is so important. And it really, I don't know, it upsets me that men sometimes don't feel like they can do that, because maybe it is a sign of weakness, or they perceive it to be a sign of weakness. Or, like you said, if you are in that provider role, it's almost you don't have the time, or you feel like you don't have the space to kind of share openly how you might be struggling.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is that for a long time there's been lots, which is a great movement around men need to talk more, men need to talk more, men need to talk more, which is great. I think there's two sides to that, because yes, men need to talk more, but they need someone to listen,
Yeah.
and they need a space to do it in that's comfortable for them, which might be different from man to man, but we need to provide more spaces like that. And the more you tell someone to do something, the less they're likely to do it. It's like when you're a kid and your mum's like, tidy your room, tidy your room, tidy your room. You're like, no, I don't want to tidy my room. So I think for me as a guy, when I always hear, you need to talk more, you need to talk more, you need to talk more, it's like, it blames like the individual guy. Oh, you're not talking enough.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not your fault that you're not talking enough. It's, do you have a space to do it in? And are you being asked the right questions from your mates or from whoever it might be? Because for lots of guys, we've never really been trained in it. I don't know, it sounds weird, but
Yeah.
we weren't brought up to share emotions or be emotionally intelligent. So it's a new skill that we're trying to add to this repertoire of what it means to be a man, which
Hmm.
is really exciting and really cool. Like, it has a bad view, and obviously for a reason, but I think it's actually a really exciting time to be a man, because we can keep all this really great traditional stuff, which I don't think we should lose. We can tweak it, but there's lots of great good stuff in there,
Yeah.
and add on these new layers. It's exciting.